The Big Apple, New York City, is the subject of today's Family Vacationer. Carole Peck from Beyond Times Square joins us to talk all about this magnificent city. Episode 126 starts right now.
Welcome to the Family Vacationer with Rob and Danny. The go-to podcast for families on the move.
Welcome, friends. I'm Rob.
And I'm Danny, and welcome to episode 126 of the Family Vacationer. Hey, in case you missed last week, you need to do yourself a favor and go back and listen to our episode on traveling to South America. I've experienced South America myself, and let me tell you, if you want to make some great family memories, give that one a listen. Carolina was an excellent source of information, so go back and give that episode a listen. And today, we set our sights on New York City. Now, we wanted to do an episode on a city that never sleeps for quite a while, but it was really a question of how to pack all of the information into one episode. There is so much to see and do in the city for visiting families. Whether it's iconic landmarks like Statue of Liberty or Times Square, or hidden gems tucked away in neighborhoods like Brooklyn and Queens, New York City has something for every family member to enjoy.
That's right. And joining us today to talk more about New York City is Carole Peck. I happened upon Carole during doing some travel agent training. She was making a presentation. Carole is the marketing and product development manager for a company called Beyond Times Square. They do some really fun and interesting packages in New York City that they're a great way if you're visiting for the first time with your family, or if you're making the trip back and you want to make it a little less stressful and make sure you hit all the highlights. Beyond Times Square is an excellent company to do that. Carole, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me today, Rob and Danny.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. I'm so excited because I'm making my podcast debut on the Family Vacationer, and I get to talk about my favorite city. So what could be better than that, right?
Really?
Right,
That's awesome.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're honored that you're our you're a little. Let me try that again. Getting tongue tied right away. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
We're honored. We are honored that we are your first podcast. So let's talk about New York City.
All right, let's do it.
What are some must-see attractions and activities in New York City that are suitable for families visiting, maybe for the first time?
Okay, so, oh my gosh, there's so many family-friendly activities in New York City, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. But if I had to narrow it down, first-time visitors, they tend to stay in the Midtown area, right? So let's zone in on that, and in particular, Times Square, some Times Square favorites. So you have M&M World, which is a huge hit with the kids. 3 stories, all kinds of M&Ms. They can pick out, get their fill of their favorite type. And they even have a cool printer where you can actually personalize what you want on the M&M, whether it be a picture or a logo, whatever the case may be. So that's always a fun thing to do with the kiddos, right? Mm-hmm. And then staying in the let's give the kids more sugar realm, right around the corner is the Krispy Kreme donut shop. It is their largest shop. It's their flagship store. And here the kids love it because you can actually watch the donuts being made from dough all the way through where they get the glaze on them. So great experience for them. But let's step away from food because there are other activities, obviously, that don't have to do with food. We have Madame Tussauds Wax Museum, world famous wax museum, filled with celebrities and sports stars and other public figures. Lots of great photo ops, very family friendly. Then one of my favorite things, and this just opened a year ago in March, so March of 2022. It's called Rise New York. And if you guys are familiar in your audience, which I'm sure you are because you're a family vacationer show, you're familiar with Disney, you're familiar with Soarin' and Epcot. Soarin' and Epcot is that flight that flight simulator where you're going over, I think in Soaring, it's basically the whole United States, right?
Yeah.
But in the New York City version, you're going over the 5 boroughs of New York City. So it's really, you get this, it's just like the Epcot. You get the wind, you get the sounds, you get the smells, good smells, not the bad smells. Just super fun. But really, before you even get to the ride portion, they have you going through a museum, if you may, like galleries. And it basically is talking about how New York City became the city it is today. So educational for the children, right? And then there's a lot of great photo ops and interactive things there. So think about the kids get to ring the stock exchange bell. and not just the kids, because of course I rang it when I went through as well.
Right.
You
Nice.
sit at the table with the honeymooners in their kitchen scene, which is going to be lost on the kids, right? And
Right.
I may be
Yeah.
aging myself, but I remember it. I mean, it wasn't reruns, okay, but I remember it. But Oscar the Grouch is going to be there to interact with them in his garbage can. That's more their speed. Or the Tonight Show, they get to go and sit up on the stage and pretend like they're interacting with Jimmy Fallon, that type of thing. They can also step out. Right outside, there's a replica of the Statue of Liberty's torch, so you can get photo ops there, like as if you were actually standing up there. So it's really cool. It is something that is unique in the city, that there's nothing else like it. And their tagline is part ride, part museum, all New York City. And I just think that just sums it up perfectly. So
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
it really is. It's really one of my favorites, and very family friendly. So, and those are all, Times Square family type things.
It's amazing how far Times Square has come, because I remember the first time I visited New York City, Times Square was not family friendly. It was really kind of
Yes.
It was sketchy. We'll just leave
It was
it there.
scary. It was,
yes. It
I
really
remember
was.
I remember going on a high school field trip. I was in journalism, and we went to Columbia University for some kinds of seminars, and our guide, or our chaperone, took us through Times Square, and my mother was like livid when I got home and told her that I walked through Times Square, and I'm like, I didn't know anything about it. I felt safe with him, but totally different. Totally different. And I will touch on that too.
Yeah. So a while ago you were talking about flying over the various areas. So I want to ask you about the neighborhoods. So are there any specific neighborhoods or areas in New York City that are particularly family friendly and offer a variety of attractions for kids? We've already talked about some of those, but
yeah. Well, so Times Square, right? I mean, that's where everything I just mentioned was. But of course, then there's another perfect area for families is Central Park. And Central Park is going to be much less congested than Times Square. Obviously, it's going to be slower paced. Basically, Central Park is what New Yorkers refer to as their backyard. And like, what a backyard it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is so much to do with the kids there. There's the Central Park Zoo. There is the Central Park Carousel. In the winter, there's the ice skating rink. There are just acres and acres of green spaces and winding paths that literally make you feel like you're out in the middle of the woods, and you don't hear that city noise. Every once in a while you might get a glimpse of a building like way off in the distance, and you're like, wow, I'm in New York City. I forgot I was in New York City. Like, I'm talking waterfalls, gardens. Like, there are still places in Central Park that I have on my list that I need to see, because there's so much to do. And it's calming for the kids, right? Now, especially after I just sent your viewers to all these candy places, and they're all sugared up, right? Let's take them to Central Park and let them just, calm down a little bit too.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's not just so that whole neighborhood up there, right? It's filled with museums, and really the most kid-friendly museum up there would be the American Museum of Natural History. Now, again, I may be dating myself, but if you guys remember the movie Night at the Museum,
yes,
they came alive every night. I always tell anybody, but especially people with kids, because it's an older movie, so younger kids may not have seen it. Have them watch it, because it's going to make their experience in that museum so much cooler, because they're going to be like, I saw that. It's just a really cool experience. So
does the museum take advantage of that movie in any way?
Honestly, I have not been inside that museum and probably since that movie came out.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that movie
I can't say if
old?
they are or not. I can't imagine that they wouldn't, right? I mean, look at all the
Is that movie old though?
I mean, that was pure promotion, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When did that movie come out? Is that an old movie? Maybe I'm dating myself.
I'm thinking 2000s, like early 2000s, early 2000s.
Wow. That's what happens when you get old. You blink and 20 years.
I know. And honestly, it could have been in the 90s for all I know, but that's my mind is going to the 2000s for some reason. So that'll be my homework.
Let's hope it's not.
Yeah, I know, right?
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. I know. And there was like 3 sequels or something after that, but I only saw the first one. I'm not a sequel person.
Yeah.
But So, and speaking of that area, beyond Times Square here, we realized that we didn't really have any totally kid-friendly packages that we can offer to our clients, right? Our customers.
Yeah.
And so recently, and I'm really excited about this, we just revamped our product offerings. And recently, I mean, they just came out in New York, not New York, yeah, last month at the end of second quarter, right? So we came up with this all things kids experience. And basically it starts out, and this is really cool, a pre-opening private tour of world famous FAO Schwarz toy store, right? So the
Oh,
kids
wow.
yeah, right. The kids get to go into the toy store. Their private tour guide is one of those toy soldiers that is, one of their mascots, if you will. They're going to learn, there's going to be a learning experience. They're going to learn history. So they're getting some of their history lesson in the history of FAO Schwarz, but they get to go to the candy bar. They get a free plush toy and they get their own personal shopper. So just such a cool experience for the youngins, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, then they go to the Museum of Natural History, which we just discussed. But this time they're going to be doing a scavenger hunt. So we have a scavenger hunt set up where basically they're going to be uncovering little known secrets about the museum. So again, not only fun, educational. I mean, this is really travel as a living classroom concept, if you will, right? And then the end of the day, they head off to the always fun and enchanting, Central Park Zoo with the sea lions and the monkeys and all the, the animals that kids just love. So that's a really cool opportunity. And those components also can be done separately, and they can also be customized. All the packages that I bring up today are totally customizable to what people really want to see. So if there's a certain part of Central Park they want to see on a Central Park tour, a certain part of a museum that they want to go into that area, by all means, we take that information, we get it to the guide runs with it, right? So in that same vein, so Central Park is this great area for families, neighborhood, if you will, because it is acres and acres. We have a Central Park fun tour too that also kind of fits into that family friendly mold. So basically, Museum of Natural History, that's a big one with us for families because it is, I think, the most family friendly. I think that's the one that's going to keep their attention the longest, right? As opposed to the Guggenheim or the MoMA. But this one's going to be an actual tour, highlights of the museum. Again, if there's anything in particular the clients or the guests want to see, that can be arranged. Then they get a private walking tour of Central Park, see all the major highlights. This is where this movie was filmed. This is where this TV show was, that whole thing. And then they get to do a gourmet picnic in the park, which I just think is the coolest thing. Like a picnic in Central Park, like that is just so, I don't know, so Hollywood to me, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
it is.
But, and it doesn't, I mean, it's gourmet, but of course we can make sure that there's stuff that the kids are going to eat because I'm not sure how many kids like gourmet food, but and then at the end, that's not all. They also the family can also do either a bike tour, Central Park, a private bike tour, pedicab tour, or they can do the horse and carriage ride, which is always, a huge favorite in New York City.
Yeah.
So really top that all off. And then we have like between that, between all those experiences, they get the luxury transfer from the hotel to the first venue and then back from Central Park. And they don't have to go with our luxury transfers. It doesn't have to be from hotel to hotel. They can, if they want to get dropped off at their dinner reservation or picked up after breakfast, that's always an option too. So that makes it nice and seamless for them too. So
for sure.
So that would be my one suggestion of an area that is totally family friendly. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, you guys. There's so much more to go there.
Right. Well, let's talk getting around New York City, because I know the first time that I was there, we're from right outside of Atlanta, which is a sprawling city, not like New York where everything is, together, but trying to get around public transportation was just baffling to me. So for a family, any tips on trying to get around for that first visit?
So I have a few things, right? So this is what I personally do. I plug my location where I want to go into Google Maps. So Google Maps that you put on when you get in your car or when you get on when you're walking somewhere. it works just as well with trains. If you've looked at the Google Map option, there's an option there that's a little train icon that you press, and it will tell you what train you're going to, how far it's going to take you to walk there. Should you have to change stations, it will tell you how far the walk is when you come out of the subway to the next station.
Yeah.
It tells you
Okay.
when the train's leaving, when the next train's leaving, and then as soon as it leaves, it tells you when the next one's due. I know that there's probably lots of apps out there, and I always tell everybody, feel free, Google, maybe you'll find something. But honestly, I just think Google Maps is the way to go. It's already on my phone and it gets me where I want to go.
A lot of people don't realize. I bet a lot of people don't know that it's already on their phone.
Yeah, you know what?
That.
You're right. I mean, I live by my Google Maps, no matter where I'm going. Like that's just my that's my compass. I don't know. That's my safeguard of getting lost, whether I'm driving or walking or taking the trains through the city. But look, if they're really stressing then about the transportation, and I know a lot of first time visitors do, then I just suggest to people, take it off your plate. It's going to be more expensive, but go the Uber or taxi route. They are abundant. You're not going to have any problem getting a taxi or an Uber. Because if you're not comfortable navigating the subway system, and it's not a hard system, it just it takes a while to get used to. And even native New Yorkers that I've talked to, still sometimes like I'll be asking questions and like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm like, you lived here your whole life, you should know, but that's not the case. There's a lot of different. It's complicated, but it's not. That's the best way I can put it. But you don't want, vacation should be fun, right? So you don't want to get stressed, because you get stressed and then the kids feel that stress, and then it's just a bad situation all around.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And that being said, this is where private guided tours come in as well, you guys. So, when you book with the On Time Square, you get that expert local licensed tour guide who knows where they're going and the best way to get there. And the option is always there. Like if you were doing a walking tour, to be picked up wherever you want and driven to the start of the walking tour and then driven back. So you don't have to worry about getting there. If you decide you want to try the subway or walk, they will happily give you directions and guide you to where they are, to where the starting point is. So that's always a plus. And then, of course, we always have tours that are done by vehicle. So non-walking tours, they would be done by a private luxury vehicle. So then you wouldn't have to worry about it, because that's pick up and drop off wherever you want. And then you're just driven around the city. So really that, those options take the guesswork and the stress out of the equation.
Yeah.
I think everybody should try taking the subway, but my preference would be the luxury travel. I think I would sign up for that all day. So
I'm one of those people. Yeah, I'm one of those people, and my girlfriend, my husband's not a big fan, so I always take my girlfriends in for weekends, and I'm the one, like, it's not that far, we can walk, and like 20 blocks in, they're like, are you kidding me? Like, I would walk anywhere. And the only thing I'm not a fan of with the subway, it's definitely a cheaper way to get around, even though they are raising the rates, I just read this morning, but only by 5%. You're not seeing anything, right? Like when I'm in New York City, I want to be above ground looking. I swear I see something new every time I go, and I go many, many, many times a year. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's worth it. I took Uber from LaGuardia to, I think it was Adams Street, Brooklyn, and it costs you a little money. I think it was only like $40, but you get to just sit back and you don't have to worry about traffic. You don't have to worry about anything except just sitting there taking in the sights. Yeah. And I thought it was totally worth it. Absolutely.
I agree, Danny. And like I said, I'm a big proponent of that. And, maybe not so much cost effective for families, but like when I'm with a group of my girls, we all split it, and it's, it comes out to not much more than if we were, taking the subway. So there's options there, definitely options.
Right. So, one of the biggest things that's on the mind of any parent who's traveling with their family is safety. And I think when we think about New York City, that is one of the things that us as outsiders, that's what we initially think about, is how safe is it? So are there any, safety considerations, precautions that families should keep in mind when they're exploring the city with kids?
So based on my personal experience, and I have a lot of personal experience in New York City, I have never felt threatened at any time. And I go all over the city, up and down the island of Manhattan, all the boroughs. Obviously, I think it's really just like anywhere else you visit, right? Use your common sense. You want to stay in areas where you feel comfortable. You want to stay in areas where it's well lit. You don't want to be going down dark alleyways and at nighttime, right? You want to stay where there's lots of foot traffic, things like that. Just things that you would normally think about in any city, maybe even your hometown, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And one thing I do say is, and this is, this, when you have kids, this happens more often than not, don't fall victim to the scams. And there's a lot of them out there, like the CD hander-outers. I think I just made that word up. The people handing out the CDs, do not take that CD, because if you take it, they're going to ask you for money, and then you're going to give it back and say, no, thank you. And they're not going to like that. And they are going to start getting aggressive about it. Same thing with the Elmos and the Mickeys and the Minnies that are all over Times Square. Do not take pictures with them. The costumes aren't even that realistic. Like,
and they're going to ask you for money right after it.
Exactly. You're going to say, oh, no. And they're going to get aggressive, right? Who wants an aggressive Elmo chasing them down Times Square, right? So that is my one thing. Obviously keep your kids close, do the buddy system, and make a human chain when you're in the crowds. And I'm going to tell you, my girlfriends and I, we still, if we're walking through Times Square and it's crowded, we literally make that chain just to make sure that we have each other, because Times Square gets really crowded, and I know everybody wants to go there. I personally stay as far away as possible unless I'm there for work, but it's things like that. And you guys, honestly, I live 2 hours outside of Manhattan, so I'm in a smallish Pennsylvania city, and I always say that I feel safer in Times Square at midnight than I do in my town's public square at noon. So just saying, saying. And
well, I was gonna say, because I was talking about how I felt in Times Square the first time that I visited. The last time that I was there, I mean, the police presence, you feel incredibly safe in Times Square.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Policemen everywhere. I was just there on New Year's Eve. It was just, everybody's like, are you afraid to be going there for New Year's? No, because it is probably one of the safest places to be, right? Because you do have all that police presence, and they're totally prepared for anything that's going to happen. And, it's definitely, I get that perception, and that was more the seedy 70s into the 80s, but it's come a long way. And if you haven't been there in a couple decades, trust me, you're gonna feel like Rob and I feel that it's definitely come a long way. And of course, I don't want to, as far as safety, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that our boots on the ground tour guides are a great option too, because they know exactly where they're going, and they are not going to take you into any kind of sketchy areas or lead you astray. So that's my final thought on that.
Good info.
Before I forget to ask you, if you want to go see a show, and obviously, you could be going with kids of all ages, is there a age limit for most of the shows? Is it something you just need to check from show to show?
You need to check from show to show, definitely.
Okay.
Most of them are pretty much open. I mean, you're not going to, some of them, I don't know why. I mean, I think it used to be like, I don't know, 5 or 6 and up, but there's some shows I'm like, why would you take a 5 or 6-year-old to that?
Yeah. Some of them have gotten a little racy. Yeah. For sure.
Oh my goodness. Yes. There's many that you definitely don't want to take them to, but a great resource for Broadway shows is, either Playbill or Broadway Inbound. Like, they have all that. That's where I always go to get my information. And of course, my experienced designers have all that information as well. So
awesome.
They can guide.
So again, with so much to see, how can families make the most of their time in New York City and prioritize sightseeing? What's the best way to do that?
Look, plan ahead, and then plan ahead some more. I mean, seriously, there is so much to do in this amazing city. You can easily get overwhelmed. You want to go in with a game plan, or else you're just going to end up eating at Olive Garden. And I say that because this is a story that I heard years ago from an old coworker in an old company, went into the city, had a fabulous day. There's all these amazing restaurants they want to try. could not get into any of them because they are booked, right?
Yeah,
It's a
Yep.
weekend.
Yep.
They ended up eating at Olive Garden. And that just makes me sad. Like, you don't, don't eat at Olive Garden in New York City. You can do
Well,
that in your hometown, right?
I
So,
laughed, but that happened to me the last time I was there. I was there for a conference, and when you're going for work, it's a little different. You don't think about making reservations. I wound up eating a Bubba Gump in Times Square, so
oh
it was
no,
sad. It was
Yeah.
very sad. So
you're killing me. No, I get it though. But next time you're going in, just contact me and I'll hook you up with some
okay,
good deals.
I appreciate that.
I literally, in my iPhone notes, you guys, I literally keep a list of restaurants, rooftop bars, because they're my favorites,
Yeah.
new attractions, like things that anytime I hear of something I haven't seen, it's in there. So I never want to go in and see the same thing twice, which drives my friends nuts, because if they see that I saw something without them, they're like, we want to go there. I'm like, not with me, you're not, because I already saw it. I'm moving on to the next attraction. But
There you go.
really, this brings me to a point about how to prioritize, how to make sure you get most of your time. Use a travel advisor, right? So
Yes,
that's the best way to plan ahead. They are the way to go. I cannot stress that enough. I know people balk now about paying a fee for travel advisors, but it's so worth it. I mean, this is their livelihood, right? This is what they do. They're the experts. And like, you wouldn't give your services away for free. I mean, this is a lot of planning and digging through and trying to get the information that you need. They spend a lot of their time, getting all that together for you. So really, and anything that they don't know, right? So they work with destination managers such as ourselves. So if they're not 100% sure about a question that you have, they can go to the expert, the destination manager expert in whatever city you're going to, and get the answer and get the guidance, right? And
right.
and that's why I mean, at Beyond Times Square, we love our travel advisor community. They come to us because they know that we're the New York City experts, and we're going to guide them based on what their clients are telling them that they want as far as their interests and passions, right? And then and that works. It comes to us and our experienced designers who have years of experience. They can guide both the traveler advisors and the guests in the right directions, so that nobody's wasting their precious time, right? So that they're getting the most out of it. They're not going to end up with any regrets about this trip, or what they could have done differently in New York City. Instead, they're just going to come back with these fabulous memories that are going to last a lifetime. So can't stress the travel advisor enough.
Yeah. So Rob and I like to find out about these, hidden gems, things that are not as well known because they probably don't get the same PR as some of the big attractions. So we like to talk to the insiders. Can you tell us about some of those hidden gems or lesser known things that are perfect for families?
Yes. So on the family side, there's quite a few. And two that a lot of people don't know about are actually immersive experiences in New York City. And I'm going to apologize because I'm going back to the Sweet Tooth theme, which you will see by their names, because one is called Candytopia and the other is called the Museum of Ice Cream, right? So you see where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
So Candytopia is pretty much what you might imagine. 17 rooms just containing plenty of sweet stuff, like literally sculptures and artwork made out of candy, like think a shark made out of gummy bears, that type of thing. Lots of Instagrammable photo ops for the kids, a marshmallow pit that's just begging to be jumped into by kids and some adults. And, and of course, lots of sugary snacks to snack on throughout. So parents, I'm sorry in advance, but it's obviously a huge hit with the kiddos. And then the Museum of Ice Cream. And I always lump these together, like, let's make it all sugar day, right? But doesn't matter here what your flavor of choices. They have everything. It's educational too. We're going to get some education in there because you learn all about the history of ice cream. And then this is a huge bonus. It's basically unlimited ice cream treats throughout your tour. I know. But perhaps my favorite part is they have a giant pool of rainbow sprinkles that you can get in. And rainbow sprinkles are like my thing. Like, I love me some rainbow sprinkles. So that's a really cool thing. But so those are two museums that are definitely family friendly, as opposed to, again, the Museum of Modern Art, or one of the ones that's probably not going to hold the younger kids' interest. But
Yeah.
I also consider some of our private experiences to be hidden gems, right? Because look, these are great for families and they're great for foodies and families. So we have a private New York City pizza and gelato challenge, which is really fun for families because they go to I think it's back it up. 3 different pizzerias and 2 different gelateries, and they actually get to taste obviously the pizza and the gelato at each, and then they get to rate it. So you could have one of those like friendly
Oh,
family discussions about why you think this piece of pizza was better or that gelato was better. So really cool experience for the family to do that. I'm getting back to
yeah.
food again. Sorry. Um,
You don't
oh, I
ever
know
have to apologize for
I
that
know.
here.
We're just taking notes.
I was gonna
So
say it's not all sweets. I mean, at least I balanced it out with some pizza, right? But now
It
I'm
is
going right
okay if it
into,
is. Don't worry
yeah.
about
that's right.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. No,
it.
but then there's now I'm really going to go into the sweets. Our private cupcake tasting tour, another
Oh,
huge hit with the families. 4 different fabulous Manhattan bakeries, cupcake shops, lower Manhattan, and basically you're not only tasting these cupcakes, you're also getting to rank them. So on like the frosting, the crumb density, like stuff I never even thought about with cupcakes, the moistness. And so really you're playing food critic in like the yummiest of ways, right? And what a great experience to do as a family as well.
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
But getting away from food again, let's talk about hidden gems that are really kind of right out in the open that families don't think about, because I think families stay so much in Midtown Manhattan that they're not really realizing that they're on an island that's surrounded by water. And I
Hmm.
think that a New York Harbor cruise is an amazing family event, an amazing family activity. We offer 2. We have a sightseeing tour that is it's a sightseeing harbor cruise and lunch. So it's the sightseeing tour and lunch, private of course, and then our private 2-hour New York sunset cruise. And that
Hmm.
one comes with an add-on of cocktails for the adults if they're interested. So that's always a bonus, right? But
Yeah.
I am a firm believer, and whenever you're a city that's surrounded by water, to get out on that water and view it from the water, because it's such a different perspective. Like, if I'm talking like
Yep.
DC, you could do that. Boston, you could do that. Philadelphia, you can do that. And of course, New York City, you can do that. And the views from the New York Harbor, and you go up the Hudson, up the east, just so much to take in. Statue of Liberty, the Brooklyn Bridge, the Manhattan Bridge. I mean, you're just seeing everything and that spectacular skyline. And the sunset tour is my favorite because you're watching the sunset over that amazing skyline. So,
Is the
and it's
Staten
really
Island ferry still free?
it is, and that's always something that I suggest to people that want to get close to the Statue of Liberty,
Yeah,
but have no interest in getting off and going on the island, because obviously it
absolutely.
doesn't. But no, that's a great free option. And speaking of that, and Danny, I didn't put this down anywhere, but I was actually thinking about it before. There's a lot of free things you can do in New York City. I mean, just Google free things to do in New York City and you'd
Hmm.
be surprised. So there's a lot of things you can do that people may not be aware of. But yeah, I think being in the water, the kids love it just as much as the adults too. I
Yeah.
just think it just adds something. It's just a whole nother perspective, kind of like taking a helicopter tour, which we offer those too. But
Awesome.
anyway,
I did that
yeah.
in San Francisco. I actually did the Alcatraz tour at night. And you're right, the view of the city at night. I mean, Alcatraz was cool at night, but the view of the city at night was just something else.
Hmm.
It was awesome.
It's on my bucket list. I did a harbor cruise in San Francisco, but I didn't make it to Alcatraz. That's on my bucket list. So
Oh,
next time, next
it's
time,
awesome. Well, let's
I can
bring it back
imagine.
to food. It's we've been off of food for about two minutes, so let's bring it back.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, let's talk about family friendly dining options. And I know we could do a whole show or a series of shows on restaurants in New York City, but are there
Yeah.
any that really cater towards kids and cater towards families?
Oh my gosh, yes. So, New York City is a foodie's paradise. And, sometimes I think that perception that a lot of people have is that it's all higher end restaurants and Michelin starred restaurants, which of course there's plenty of, but there's
Sure.
also plenty of mid-range family friendly fare options are abundant as well, right? So my favorite, I always tell Ray to go here, Ellen's Stardust Diner. It is a diner right in the Times Square area. Basically, the wait staff are all aspiring Broadway actors and singers. So they just periodically break out into dance routines and songs. Super fun for the kids. And it's like think comfort foods. It's like your home style comfort foods. So and a great price point there. My favorite though is Serendipity 3. I know I'm going back to the chocolate guys. Their frozen hot chocolate is the best chocolate concoction that I have ever tasted in my life. And trust me, I'm a chocoholic, which you can probably already discern from the amount of time I have brought up chocolate so far in this podcast.
Can't go wrong.
But I mean, that's a fabulous place to take kids. Let's see what else. The American Girl Doll Cafe, the American Girl Cafe, where the kids can come and dine with their dolls. That's always a really cute experience for them. And then another one that people don't think of, I guess, for kids, but I think it's a great option, is there's a place called John's of Times Square. It's a pizza place, and it's actually it's very casual, but it's actually in an old church. So it's like 2 stories, balcony. It's just a really cool vibe. And I think kids, when I've gone in there, when I've eaten there and I've seen kids, like they're kind of like in awe about like what they're seeing. So I think that's, rather than just grabbing a slice and eating it on the sidewalk, I love John's. I think that's a great place to go. And then, you have your standards, your Shake Shack, your Dave and Buster's, but honestly, don't go to New York City to eat at a chain restaurant, right? I mean, there's you can find them in practically any other city in the US, do the local thing. It's so much better. And then I know you had asked about, like different dietary preferences. We had discussed that and catering to different cuisines and stuff. And, really whether your family are vegetarians or vegans or anybody has special dietary needs, or you're looking, even if you're just looking for a special, this is going to be hard for me to say because I have a list. Ethnicity. I know it's not coming out. You know what I mean?
We got you. We know what you mean. Yeah.
Ethnic food. There we go. There's always going to be plenty of options. Trust me, like New York is just a very food friendly. In that respect, you're going to be able to find something that will fit into your dietary options, and you don't have to search them out on your own, because I'm here to tell you that my experienced designers will happily hunt down the perfect restaurant, right? They will, for you and your family. They'll make sure they can cater to your particular dietary needs. They'll take into account the ages of your children to make sure it's going to be, family friendly, more for the little ones, or even if you have teenagers, that might be a different style of restaurant. They'll make the reservation for you just like a concierge at a hotel would, so that's just an option I just want to get out there.
Okay. So. A while ago, you mentioned some of the restaurants being booked, but just in general, not necessarily even restaurants, any strategies for managing crowds overall and queues and at all these amazing venues in the city?
Yes. So again, plan ahead, right?
Yeah.
If you can get specific timed reservations at venues, and this was a big thing post-COVID. I know it's kind of going back away again, but there's still places that you can do that. Do off-peak hours, like early mornings or later in the afternoons. Dinner time is great when people are actually eating. So if the venue's hours permit, do that. Really just the typical advice that you would give to anybody visiting any city, right, in the US. Just make reservations when you can. Try to hit the hours when you know it's not going to be as busy. And that's a great way to see the sites without having that feeling like you're wasting time standing in line. And another thing here is, there's a lot of options where you can do VIP passes. And with Beyond Times Square, we have the VIP Express Pass to the Empire State Building. So you're not waiting in that long queue to go up. You're going right up to the 82nd and then the 106th floor. We have a lot of those pre and post openings. So we talked about FAO Schwartz. We also have one at the Intrepid. And this is another, the Intrepid. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's fabulous, family friendly. It's up in Midtown. It's over, sits on the Hudson River, but it's basically, if you're not familiar, it's the USS Intrepid. It was on tour in World War II and the Vietnam War. And I mean, talk about travel as a living classroom. The kids are just going to get such a great history from going to this venue. And they're also going to see the Space Shuttle Enterprise. The British Concorde is there. The Growler submarine, and the submarine you can actually tour through, which is really, really cool. I've done that. So that's a really cool experience. And we can do a private pre-opening tour on that too. But even like, so if you've been to New York City, like I remember the first time I went and I headed down to Battery Park to get on that ferry to go to the Statue of Liberty, right? That's another thing. Besides Times Square, everybody wants to see the Statue of Liberty. Something as basic as that. I've done it on my own, tried to get my way down there, got, turned around on subways, made it to Battery Park, then tried to find where the queue was to get on to the ferry that's actually going to take me out there. And it really stressed me out. But then I've done it with a private tour guide. And when you do it that way, the private tour guide just makes it so much more pleasant, right? From getting you downtown, the quickest, most efficient way, getting you through Battery Park, right to the line you're supposed to be in, getting you on that boat, on and off at the Liberty Island, on and off at Ellis Island, and then back off at Battery Park, and basically telling you, hey, if you have plans, giving you directions to where you can go and the easiest way to get there. And that is a great half-day tour, but we also have a full-day tour that includes the 9/11 Memorial Museum. And I don't suggest it for younger kids, obviously. It's a very emotional. I don't know if you guys have been. I just think that I feel strongly that everybody should take the time to pay their respects when they're in New York City. Now, going to the memorial is one way. That's free, that you can just walk around and pay your respects. The museum is a whole nother emotional, it's intense. So kids, people ask age, I'm like, I don't know. It depends on your kid's maturity level, right? Like there's very mature 15-year-olds, and there's very immature 18-year-olds. So you need to kind of flesh that out with your family situation. But that's another, that's something else that it goes along good with the whole history thing. So you're getting the history of when Americans came in, you're getting the Statue of Liberty welcoming them, Ellis Island coming through there, and then the history of what happened in New York, 20 some years ago now. So that's a good one. And, when you book with a destination management company like Beyond Times Square, you not only have that knowledge from the people that are answering the phones, we call our experience designers, those local tour guides, the boots on the ground, they know how to get you there. They know how to beat the crowds. They know the right times to go. They know the quickest way to get there. So take advantage of their expertise when you can. I can't stress that enough, especially for first-time visitors, because if you're and especially if you're a nervous first-time visitor, right? Because I know it's daunting for a lot of people to go to New York City. So it's always nice just to have somebody to help guide you around and get you through all that, get you through the crowds, so you're not spending your time, you're not wasting your time standing in lines all day when you could be actually touring the venues.
Or eating at Bubba Gump's. Anyway, nothing against
that
Bubba
just
Gump's.
Breaks my heart, Rob. Just breaks my heart.
It was awful. It was sad. I was really sad sitting there going, I could be eating. Anyway.
That would never happen with me.
Are there any specific events, festivals, seasonal activities that families should consider when they're planning their New York vacation? I know, you got the big ones. You got Thanksgiving parade. You've got Christmas time. You've got the annual collapse of the Mets. You've got all kinds of events and stuff going on. But what are their specific events and festivals? Thank you. That families should consider. Go Braves.
So are you a Mets fan by any chance?
No. I'm a Braves fan. So.
Oh, okay.
Just had to get in a dig.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm a Yankees fan, but I can't be boasting too much these days from what I hear.
Bless your
But
heart.
yes, seasonal, absolutely. And basically what you mentioned. So, well, 4th of July, of course, is a big one in New York
Oh,
City.
right. Hmm.
Thanksgiving, and then that whole holiday season from Thanksgiving to New Year's Eve, right? So 4th of July, which will be the next one coming up. I mean, means fireworks, right? And fireworks in New York City are like over the top fireworks because New York
Right.
City does everything over the top, right? And that, of course, is courtesy of Macy's fireworks display, which is also shown on television. And families can there's definitely places that you can scout out to go sit in the downtown area along the harbor and the rivers where you can see them. So that's always an option. But there's also a really cool option that Beyond Times Square just came out with this year. It's our brand new 4th of July dinner cruise and walking tour. And I do want to say we're doing it in both New York City and Washington, D.C., but Washington, D.C. is another podcast. But I just had to put that in there, right? But
It's all right.
basically, as the name suggests, it's a cruise and a walking tour. So basically in the morning, you are able to pick a walking tour of your choice, the area you want to see. So you're getting in for the family that history. So pick an area that you really want the children to learn more about, whether it's Lower Manhattan or Harlem. I mean, you name it, like any borough, neighborhood, any area that you want to learn more about. 4-hour walking tour. Then in the evening, you go down to the harbor and you board this luxurious dinner cruise. I believe it's the Odyssey. It's either the Odyssey or the Bateau in New York. Forgive me, I'm not sure which one is in which city. I keep getting them confused. But basically, it's a luxurious dinner cruise. So I'm going to say this is definitely more for families with older children. Like definitely,
Okay.
yeah, 16 and up, because you get dressed up. You've got the premium open bar. You've got the entertainment, but you also, I mean, even for the kids, it's not a total, loss, because you're sitting out on the New York Harbor watching the fireworks go off.
Oh, yeah.
And I did this one year, and literally I had tears in my eyes because you're not the only boat out there. Trust me. I mean, there's all kinds of boats, but everybody's like spaced nicely. The Coast Guard has it so well planned, but you see all the police boats, and you just feel so safe, and you just feel so patriotic, like just watching those fireworks go off, with the Empire State Building in the background. It is just such a cool experience. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't take younger kids on it, but definitely the older kids. And I did say it comes with a walking tour in the morning. You can just do the cruise portion too if you like. So that is something really cool to do on 4th of July. And then Thanksgiving, of course, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Right.
One of my favorite things to do is the day before Thanksgiving. I don't know if you guys are aware, but they actually have the balloon inflation area is set up on Central Park West, right around where the Museum of Natural History is. So you can they actually have it like they have queues. So you can actually get in the queue and walk through and watch the balloons being blown up and talk to the
Oh, wow.
handlers. Honestly, like it just blew me away. Like you see them laying on the ground and you're like, you realize how massive they are. And then you watch
Yeah.
them getting blown up before your eyes. And then you hear, you talk to the handlers and you hear all these stories, and these people have been doing it for years as volunteers. And it's like, I want to be a balloon handler. Like, how do I get that job? Like, just really cool. We do a private tour to that too. That's also something you can do on your own. As far as Thanksgiving, there's the option of getting there super early, getting your spot on the sidewalk, and not leaving, no matter if you have to go to the bathroom. There's very few limited public bathrooms in New York City, guys. I'm not going to lie. It's very hard to find one. I just read that they are trying to put more up around the city, which yay. But and not only that, but you don't know what the elements are going to be. Look, it's New York City in November. I've been
Right.
there when I am just wearing a heavy sweater, and I've been there when I have just total covered up because I'm afraid I'm going to get frostbite. So that's one option. The other option we actually do run, and this is our 3rd consecutive year, it is our exclusive Thanksgiving parade indoor viewing party. Fabulous venue. It's called Del Frisco's Double Eagle Steakhouse, floor to ceiling windows, amazing views of the parade coming right down the parade route. You can actually even go outside and watch it if you want. We have a private pen that's security manned so that the general public can't get in your space. It's got everything you could think of. It's got the hot breakfast brunch. It's got unlimited Bloody Marys and mimosas. So, that's for the adults, but totally
Right.
family friendly, totally family friendly. I'm talking, they have Broadway performers come and perform, because if you think about it, the parade actually starts up on Central Park West, and the venue is across from Rockefeller Center. So you're talking a good 20 minutes, maybe half hour before it comes down. So they do have the television news feed, the TV feed rather, that you can see, you can watch it as it's coming, but you're also getting entertained by your Broadway entertainers. There's a face painter for the children. There's a balloon character. See, that's another one with the S's I can't say. A balloon guy that twists the balloons to animals.
Yeah, we're with
And
you.
and the characterist is actually the one that's doing the face paintings. The characterist, that's what that is.
Cool.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Right. And just a great way to experience it. And you don't have to get there at the crack of dawn. You can get there at 8, and there's indoor bathrooms, and it's climate controlled, so that's a really cool options for families, and it sells out every year. It's a huge hit. So, to your viewers, if you have any interest, book it now. Also, it's early bird rates right now. They just keep getting higher as time goes up. So right now is the cheapest you can actually get it. And then, of course, once Thanksgiving's over, it's full on, Santa arrives at the end of that parade, and forget it. It's not Thanksgiving anymore. It is Christmas, and Hanukkah, Kwanzaa in the city. And nobody does it like New York. And there's so many things to do. Family friendly. You've got the Radio City Music Hall Rockettes, the Christmas Spectacular. You've got the ice skating rinks between Woolman Rink in Central Park and Rockefeller Center. And there's one at Bryant Park in their winter market area. Our destination experts, they can absolutely make reservations for any of those things. But there's also some really cool tours that we do, some private tours. So we call them our holiday experiences, and they range anywhere from, we have Manhattan's private light tour that our guide will take you around and show you all of the amazing window displays that New York City is so famous for putting on. I mean, for years and years and years. And now they've gotten to the point where it's the buildings, right? So Saks Fifth Avenue puts on their whole buildings illuminated with these lights and music. And last year the theme was Elton John, so it was all Elton John music. And I think it goes off every half hour. So everybody gets there, and it's like an event in itself every half hour. And it's literally your backdrop behind you is the infamous Rockefeller Center Christmas tree, which of course you got to see that if you're in New York at Christmas, right?
Yeah. Right.
So things like that. And then we also have, and this was one of my favorites from last year, it was new last year, very popular, our Home Alone 2 Christmas in New York tour. So this, New York City has the distinction of being the backdrop for so many movies, and especially when it comes to holiday movies. The 1992 Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, I think, is probably one of the most iconic, because we're one of the most it showcases the most iconic landmarks in the city, right? Because you think Callister, you're following them through the city, the Plaza Hotel, FAO Schwartz, which is actually Duncan's toy chest in the movie. That's a little movie trivia for you. Rockefeller Center, the Radio City Music Hall, Central Park, Times Square, and many other landmarks, all that your people are familiar with, they want to see anyway. They're going to see them decorated for the holidays. And then it comes with an extra, I like to say, a bonus scene, where you actually get to go to an observation deck at the end, which is to be announced. That any observation deck in the city is amazing these days, so no worries about that. So you actually get to look down at the city all dressed up for Christmas, which I just think is a lovely way to end that. So that's certainly a family friendly. And again, have the kids watch it, because that also is a movie, and I'm pretty sure that one's from the 90s, guys. I don't think that even made it to the 2000s. I think that's 90s.
No, I think you're right.
I think the original one might have been like really late 80s, early 90s. So number 2 had to definitely be in the 90s, right?
Yeah, they just put out another one last couple of years. My kids love them all, so
Oh my goodness, they're
That
still going? Well, I'm sure it's not with the same dude, right?
no.
And then
He's aged out. So,
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think he
but
just had
if
a kid.
The Home Alone tour, and if you guys had an Elf tour, my kids would be
Oh,
Oh yeah.
between
you
those
know
two.
what?
They would,
I love that. Elf is my
yeah,
all-time favorite. Like I
yeah.
could recite it word for word.
There's your
That
next idea.
I'm going to bring that up to my product development team. But
You should,
Yes.
and I should get
not
to do
just
it for free, right?
I'm good. Yes. All right, Rob, you'll be well, maybe we'll
I'm
bring you
trying.
in, like to help guide us on what you think should be, like you could be
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word, but yeah, you can help us put it all together.
sounds
But you
good to
did
me.
ask about, it's not just holidays, it's festivals too. And New York City, across the 5 boroughs, just filled with festivals, especially in the summertime. But I
Mm,
have to give a shout out to my all-time favorite, which is the San Gennaro Festival, or the Feast of San Gennaro, which takes place in Little Italy every September. And it's typically like mid-September till almost the end of September. I think it runs like 10 days. But picture, they shut down Mulberry Street. It's all outdoor dining because it's September, so it's still nice. All the food, like you cannot imagine. It's Little Italy, come on. So the food is out of this
mm,
world.
mm.
Lots of junk food too, of course. I can't have to mention that. There's crafts, there's entertainment, really great family atmosphere. Like just love going down there. Always try to make it into the city for that. So that's one festival that I definitely have to give a shout out to.
Yeah.
So
All right. So just one final thing about the money aspect. You really already talked about free stuff and planning ahead, and just any final tip that you might have on saving money when you don't want to compromise the quality of the experience.
So here's the thing. So saving money, I feel it means a lot of different things to different travelers, right?
Yeah, it
So
does.
say
Sure.
you head into New York City and you don't have a game plan and you have no guidance, and you say you head to Ripley's, believe it or not, and which, by the way, is a fabulous option for kids. I am not picking on Ripley's, believe it or not. I love it. I love a good oddity, but it doesn't fit everybody's family. It doesn't fit everybody's taste, right?
Yeah.
So if it doesn't fit your family's particular taste or idea of fun or time well spent, then you just wasted money, right?
Right.
So
Right.
so you wasted that admission fee, and not only that, you also wasted your valuable time in the city. It's something you could have done without. And I'm not picking on Ripley's. I'm not Ripley's. Like I said, I love me some oddities.
Yeah.
It's may not be for everyone. Just like
Right.
frozen hot chocolate at Serendipity may not be for everyone, which I cannot imagine, but to each his own. But it's same respect. You could pick a Broadway show that everybody's raving about and absolutely hate it, feel like you've wasted money and time. And by the way, we talked about this a little tiny bit, but so many great options for kids on Broadway shows right now. The Lion King, Aladdin, off Broadway has the Gazillion Bubbles show, and there's a lot more. Absolutely, absolutely introduce your kids to Broadway when you're in the city. Don't go to
Yeah.
the city and not take them to a show, because it's either going to be a start of a love affair with the theater, which is what happened to me, or I don't need to do this again. But I'm gonna bet it's the first one, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Broadway
Yeah.
is just the smell of the Broadway theater is just the whole experience. I love it.
Yeah. It was great.
So,
I did.
and I think another way maybe to be cost conscious, I always believe in packages, like bundling things together before you go. That way, the cost that you're paying up front
Mm.
for, like bundle your hotel, your transfers, your Broadway tickets, tours, pay for that up front. And then you just have to kind of figure out what you're going to budget for, say, like food and souvenirs, things like that. Right.
Okay.
And,
Awesome.
and we do, we do have some great options, brand new off the press, hot off the presses. We call them BTSQ signature experiences, where you can do just that. And we have these great packages, especially since we talk about first time visitors so much. We have a classic or a premium based on your price point. And basically it's going to include the hotel stay. And the hotel we've partnered with is the Pier Hotel, 5-star, beautiful luxury hotel. But it's not too luxury for kids. I would feel very comfortable taking kids there. Right
Right.
across from Central Park, great area. You get your round trip airport transfers in there. You get Broadway show tickets. If you go with the classic pack, package, you get like your basic standard orchestra mezzanine. Go with the premium, you get a premium seats. You get a 4-hour walking tour of your choice. If it's a premium package, you get a 4-hour tour in a luxury vehicle. You get your choice admission to one of 4 of the best museums in the city. So think the Museum of Modern Art, which of course is MoMA, Metropolitan Museum of Art, or the Met, American Museum of Natural History, which keeps coming up, and then the Museum of Broadway. And the Museum of Broadway is the newest one in the city, which I'm super excited about. Have not been, watched a million YouTube videos. Some of my teammates have been, can't wait to go. Lots of memorabilia, especially for Broadway fans. It's fabulous. So, and those are just a couple of the, first time visitors. We also have ones for people that aren't first time visitors and want to see different areas of the city, but really everything is customizable. And that means that if you don't like something that's in our package, you can always, tweak it to what you want to do. But it's just, I just think it's a great way to know what you're spending before you get in there, because if you don't plan ahead in any city, right, you're going to go in there and you're going to spend more because it's going to be last minute decisions, and you're not going to have time. You're not gonna have time to price check, right? And I do this all the time. Like, I'm currently planning a trip to Florida this weekend, and I'm just like price checking everything, seeing where my best deals are going to be, and getting everything paid and any reservations made ahead of time, so I can just get there and do my thing. So
great.
Yes. Yeah, you're not saving money if it's something that you ultimately didn't want to do in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And they get you. Like, I mean, there's a lot of people handing out flyers, your Times Square, do this. And if you get overwhelmed, you're like, all right, we just need to get the kids in somewhere. Let's do something. And, it's just not the way to do New York City. And this, oh my goodness, you guys, this is just Manhattan. Like, you can bring me back and I could talk about the other 4 boroughs and tell you, even more stuff. So, but I know everybody, to people going to New York City, it's always Manhattan, and I get that. But once you go as many times as I have, you just want to branch out and see everything else. So.
For sure. Well, for more information on visiting New York City, consult your travel agent. And if you'd like some more information on Beyond Times Square and all these wonderful packages that Carole's mentioned, go to btsq.com. Carole, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. It was so fun to talk about my favorite city with you guys and a little bit about my company. And I just hope that your viewers, realize that I just get a better idea of what a family-friendly city New York City.
Hey everyone, if you're ready to plan your next family vacation, call my dad. He would love to help you as a certified travel agent. He never charges a fee to help you plan your vacation. Email him at rjones@starsteptravel.com. Get started planning your vacation today.
That does it for this week's show. Rob is jumping up and down with excitement for next week as we have Dr. Emily King back on the show to talk about surviving that post-vacation letdown. We all feel it, but Dr. Emily is going to talk about getting through it. So join us next week. Till next time.
Thank you for listening to The Family Vacationer. Make sure and subscribe to hear more of Rob and Danny.